Welcome to Creative Spirit Gathering, my friends, whether you are joining us for your, well, I don't know, third year of joining us, however many times that is, I'm not going to do the multiplication this quickly, or this is your first time joining us online through our recordings. We are glad that you are here and we welcome you into our supportive community. So today we are talking about harmony and dissonance as they relate to art and also as they relate to our lives. And we're doing this as part of our self-care theme for the month of October. So even just when you hear those words, harmony and dissonance, just think about what comes up for you. If you have a blank journal page in front of you, you might even want to write down some quick thoughts. Comes to mind when you think of harmony. What comes to mind when you think of the word dissonance? And as I share a couple of pages with you, for those of you who are joining me live in the Zoom room, I invite you to share your thoughts in the chat if you'd like to, as we expand our awareness and our definitions around these terms. First of all, anyone who's popping in, I just wanted to share real quick, the materials that I'm going to be using today are watercolor paints. It's like, you know, the school set that you get in elementary school, so nothing fancy, but I will be working with these. I've got a soft brush, paper towel, and a little cup of water, so you'll have those on hand. Again, giving you a few more minutes to jot down notes. So harmony and dissonance. Yeah, it's one of those things that can be hard to define, but we know it when we see it. And actually the phrase or terms, rather, harmony and dissonance, were sort of borrowed from the music realm into the visual arts. So if you think about harmony in a piece of music, right, that there's certain notes that when played together, they create this resonance, this sound, this chord, this harmony that we hear with the ear, right? And then you change one of those notes even, and all of a sudden we get this sort of dissonance. There's something that feels like, oh, that doesn't belong there. It feels almost jarring when we hear it. And so the visual arts have sort of adopted these phrases as a way of recognizing when harmony and dissonance show up in an artwork. And of course, with all of these things, when we know what they are, then we can use them with intention. And particularly when we're talking about using art for self-expression, when we know there's certain things that feel harmonious and certain things that maybe feel dissonance on the page, then when we're creating something and we're in this state of, you know, chaos in our lives, we might want to use those tools that create more of that visual dissonance. Or if we're feeling that state of balance and flow, we might wish to create something that feels more harmonious. So in terms of visual, right, I chose this because I feel like this sort of represents an example of something that's harmonious. And we have similar colors. The color palette works well together. There's nothing in it that's like jarring out at us in terms of like being in a very opposite color family, or like tone wise is very different. We've got sort of this greens and sort of black night sky that's happening, and sort of this light greenish blue. Although there are different patterns, it's almost this repetition of the fact that there are patterns. So these sort of soft patterns are playing throughout it. If anything, the word life here maybe feels slightly different than everything else. And yet at the same time, because of that tone of the black night sky behind it, it still works in with others, and the stargaze sort of falling along this white line here. So we sort of get this sense, this feeling of harmony on the page. I'd love to go through and read what some of our community members have to say about harmony. I love this. Harmony is like an inner hum, the vibe of flow. My body is relaxed and heart space feels open in this space of harmony. Colors such as pastel colors feel like ease, gentle harmony. Tell we've got artists in the room. Harmony, unity, working together. I'm thinking the others on there sort of resonate more with the dissonance. So as I was like flipping through my journal, right, I could see some similar colors, similar textures happening on the page, feeling fairly harmonious. Again, the colors here bring it together, even though there's a lot happening on the page spread, it still feels like there's a sense of harmony, of connectedness in the whole. And then as I was flipping through, I noticed this particular journal was done when my son was really young. And so I did a couple pages with him. My little tabs, because they're old, just fell out of my book. So pardon me as I search for what I was looking for. Okay, so here's one that was done with my son when he was still a toddler. So you can see there's like this drawing on this side. This was like my art desk with my supplies and sort of this drawn out image. But then behind it, we have like these like quick scribble marks and tones. And then I actually used to create intentional harmony between my artwork and his artwork. I used some of the colors that he had in his markers, and I used some stickers that were similar colors, and I drew in some flowers that were similar colors to some of his mark making to create this sense of balance. So even though there was some dissonance between my life as an artist, my life as a mother, and then spending that time creating with him in that moment, there's still this sense of bringing it all together, of creating some harmony within that. And now here's a piece that I created on my own without the aid of his scribbles, but I created my own scribbles on the page. So you can see sort of the scribbles in the background, done with paint, done with pastels, and more scribbles down through here. So the overall image, I'm having a hard time lining up with the camera. The overall image here has this sense of like rough and sort of scratched in, some scribbles, some quick paint in through here. This obviously was like pulled in with like flat surface or palette knife. Even the word inspire that was on here is like smeared across. And then the piece that feels very dissonant to all of that is this very softly rendered floral drawing, this dogwood image here. So this, again, an intentional piece of recognizing, you know, where in my life am I feeling one sort of energy, one sort of flow, and then what's happening, where are some things in my life where I'm feeling a very different way. Because sometimes, you know, when we approach our art journals, we're doing so with the intention of, I'm going to capture how I'm feeling on the page. And yet sometimes when we sit down to capture a feeling, there's many feelings that can be within us at once. And so this might intentionally look like a page of dissonance, a page where things don't match up, you know, all the same tone or all the same shapes. So we can use these tools to express ourselves on the page with intention. Now, I want to go back through and read what some of our community members had to say about dissonance and see what resonates for you. Dissonance, inner constriction, rather like hitting a chord on the piano that's off key. Yeah. Really off can feel like nails on a chalkboard, right? So that difference between just the wrong key and then, right? Yes. Oh, like a storm, soft rain then crashing of thunder and lightning. Yes. Which almost has that harmony and dissonance happening all at once. Again, it's like we recognize those items as going together, as having some sort of connection. And at the same time, there can be that strong shift from one to the other. Dissonance, complementary colors can do this. Yes, absolutely. And we've talked about that before, and even on this page, right, where if we separate that out, now that inspire, because it's complementary to the blue, it feels like it's very different than the rest of the page. So harmony and dissonance. So we can see what it is in art. And probably you're already starting to get a feel for, what does that mean for my life? What does that mean for my spiritual journey? To explore the ideas of harmony and dissonance. And I want to bring that back to our self-care studies that we've been looking at in terms of the relationship between our wholeness, right? We are sort of three-part beings in a sense. There are three general aspects to our being: mind, body, and spirit. And we are this all at once. Right? We are constantly the collective. And sometimes in our lives, we may feel like, okay, my physical self-care needs are being really well met, right? Maybe we're, eating nutritious food and going for a daily walk, and our body feels like it is being cared for. But then we may have this experience where we're doing that, but not paying attention to what's going on in the mental or emotional mind and that part of our being. And so we may feel physically well, but emotionally overwhelmed or emotionally stressed in some way. And so we're looking at our self-care needs. We may recognize, okay, I'm feeling this sense of dissonance here. So maybe I want to focus some more on my self-care for my mind. Have a massage to relax some of the tension, or have some chamomile tea to sink into that space of ease at the end of my day. And likewise, right, we may be feeling very well balanced and in harmony in our physical being and in our mental state, and where we find that maybe we are lacking that sense of spiritual connection and spiritual awareness in our lives. That may feel like it's dissonant. It's not in that flow of self-care. We've maybe put aside our meditation practices, and we've just sort of ignored that. And we've just sort of been going with our daily lives and feeling like something is off, something is disconnected. So when we recognize the places of our self-care where we are intentionally focused, and we are intentionally bringing about health and wholeness in our being, we can also look at where are those areas that maybe I haven't been, and I'm still feeling a bit of discord with that. Or there's a sense where something's not in harmony. And again, perhaps you're at a space where you're like, everything's flowing beautifully. All is in harmony in my life. I am in a state of wholeness and I know it. And in which case, go you, go you. So I'm inviting you today to just explore specifically your self-care practices. What aspects of your being, body, mind, spirit, are you feeling are working together in harmony? And where are there maybe some areas of dissonance that are happening? And again, if everything is harmonious or everything feels that it is in a state of, chaos, that's fine. Just be honest with yourself on the page, or you don't have to represent both on the page. And I said earlier, we were going to work with watercolors. And the reason why I've chosen my watercolors is because I love the sense of like flowiness that you can get with watercolors. And I love when the colors blend together. So I can create the harmonies with the blending, or intentionally choose colors that are going to feel like they're like pulling apart or pushing apart from the rest of the image and create that space of dissonance. So if you haven't worked with watercolors in a while, just like a quick refresher, you want to load your brush up with water, choose your color, and then add it to the page. Again, I went really heavy on this because I wanted to blend colors together. Go into my violet. You can see where the colors are overlapping. They're starting to blend together. So we have this sense of like harmony with the violet and the blue and these cool tones, and now all of a sudden it's like, whoa, what's happening? So we can start seeing how things feel connected and where they feel like they're creating this sense of pushing away from what's already on the page. Obviously, you can do this creating designs, images, patterns, working just with colors and doing abstracts, however you're feeling called to explore with the idea. You may want to write down your thoughts as you're processing them. The idea is to explore the different aspects of self-care, mind, body, spirit. Where are you noticing feelings of harmony in your being? And where are you noticing feelings of dissonance? Now, perhaps you will be guided by your own inner voice of how to create greater harmony, right? If you are feeling this sense of dissonance. So pay attention to that still small voice within you that may offer up the answers that you're seeking as you notice these things. And other times, right, it's just enough to notice, to observe, to be honest and present with ourselves in this moment. And the answers may come later. So we're not necessarily going at this from the perspective of I need the answer right now, but just if we open ourselves up to what is present right now, then we can bring greater harmony into all aspects of our being. And with that, we're going to take a moment of inner peace and harmony with the moment of meditation. So before we move into our journal time, we take a moment to center ourselves. We use the breath to first begin to bring our awareness into this present moment. Take a nice deep inhalation and exhale. Just feel the relaxation that starts to happen even with taking that intentional breath. If it feels comfortable to you, you may wish to close your outer eyes or bring them to a soft focus. Today, let us claim harmony in all aspects of our lives. We claim observance as the witness of our own being. That where there is dissonance, it be made known to us. And we take just a moment to rest in the silence. Harmony is my true nature. Wholeness is my true nature. Unity is my true nature. We allow these affirmations to center us and to bring us back to the mind and back to this present moment. So we gently flutter our eyes open. I invite you now to move into your journal expression and see what comes forward for you in today's activity.